Hello everybody, welcome to That's Football. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest football transfer news. We're going to be starting off with a done deal and it's a big deal for Arsenal. Also, we've got an update on Isak to Liverpool, a Premier League club that's been stripped to the bone. Will they be getting relegated next season? And also want to talk about the Club World Cup and Ronaldo if there's time at the end. What are your thoughts on that? Chelsea losing last night, but is everybody losing interest? But what we're not going to lose interest with is the Premier League transfer window. Zubamendi is an Arsenal player, and it sort of slipped under the radar. I don't know how you feel about this as Arsenal fans. We were told this deal was happening way back in February, and I might get this wrong, but I actually think it was Sami Mokbel when he was working at the Daily Mail that announced this was going to be a signing for Arsenal back in February. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. So fair play. It's been mentioned for a long time. Over the last few weeks, we've heard that he might want to go and play for Real Madrid with Alonso. He's not sure on Arsenal. But then David Ornstein was saying, no, we think it's going to happen, or it is going to happen. Fabrizio Romano last night says Zubamendi and his representatives in London to sign and seal the deal. He is going to be an Arsenal player. And it feels like a deal of such enormity that's gone a little bit weird over the last few weeks. And I think it's something that Arsenal fans should really get excited about. Obviously, it's not the striker you want yet, and you can see Liverpool and Manchester City are doing business, but Zubamendi into that Arsenal midfield massively strengthens an area where you're quite strong anyway, and he is a fantastic player to come into the Premier League. And low-key, it's very early to say, but he could be one of the contenders to be one of the biggest impactful signings of this summer transfer window. Obviously, I think Liverpool have bought very, very well. Kerkez, Frimpong, Wirtz, there will be others. But I think Zubamendi in an Arsenal shirt, in that midfield, in that system, playing in one of the best teams in the league, he could be a real catch for the Premier League, and it's going to happen. I assumed it was going to happen, but I think last night we sort of got that firm confirmation that we're approaching July the 1st and the official signing could well be around July the 1st. And if Arsenal get that striker in, it's going to be very interesting in this Premier League title race. I think Arsenal are lagging behind Liverpool, both on the table but also on the summer transfer window. But signings like this do improve them, no shadow of a doubt. Let's talk about the striker very, very quickly with Arsenal. There really isn't a lot to report other than what I said yesterday. It feels like Arsenal want to take their time on this. They've got Gyökeres there if they want to, but they're putting their work into Sesko, and it's not a bad position to be in, is it? Talking about strikers, a bit of an update coming in on Isak. Remember, we've spoken about this a couple of times this week. Liverpool, no doubt, like other clubs, would move on Isak if there was any indication that he wanted to leave Newcastle and Newcastle would be open to it. They're reporting in the Telegraph this morning that Liverpool's transfer activity does not extend to a move for Newcastle's striker Alexander Isak, with a deal for the Sweden striker not described as imminent in any way, shape or form. He's going to stay at Newcastle, isn't he? I think that's everybody's, even Liverpool's most optimistic fans' view is that he will stay at Newcastle because they've got Champions League football. They're not going to want to sell him. And if he's not pushing for a move, then it just won't happen. But I think that it might be something that happens in 12 months' time. Certainly, it could be, might not be Liverpool. It could be another club. But he is going to be well sought after. He's certainly one of the best players in the Premier League at the moment. And you can understand why teams like Liverpool would want to go for him. But interestingly, if that door gets closed to Isak, Liverpool is still looking for a forward. Obviously, I think they're going to focus on Guehi now because of the Leverkusen deal for Kwanzaa. But does that put them back in for Ekitike, who I think sort of suits Liverpool quite well? I've actually said for a long time, if Newcastle sold Isak, I think Ekitike is the perfect player to come in and play that system. So if Liverpool can't get Isak, do you just go for Ekitike and try him out? So it'd be interesting to see just how Liverpool work out on that. I think Liverpool also, there's something that was being mentioned on the United Stand show. If you don't watch that, it's our United channel. Last night, somebody was saying, look, it's been a very good... I mean, Man United fans are very jealous of Liverpool at the moment. They've had a very, very good summer transfer window, and Man United have been very, very slow again. But we were discussing it last night about there is a clever element to what Liverpool have done as well. They've spent a lot of money on Wirtz. They got a good deal on Frimpong, but they're getting 35 million back from that money they're spending on Wirtz for selling Kwanzaa there. How that works with FFP, PSR, swap deal, is it technically a swap deal? I mean, I don't know. But the reality is they're getting 30 to 35 million pounds back on what they're going to spend on Wirtz straight away, because Kwanzaa's going to Leverkusen, where they got Frimpong and Wirtz from. So masterful tactics, and certainly not something to scrutinise, I don't think, in a way of controversy, when you consider that Chelsea sold their bloody women's team in a couple of hotels and Man City are currently in a court case. But I think this is the big difference. I think clubs like Newcastle, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Man City, and now Liverpool are looking at not loopholes, I suppose, ways to balance your books by being clever. And probably as part of the negotiations for Wirtz and Frimpong, they probably said, do you fancy any of our players like Kwanzaa or anything like that? And it just works. And you can balance your books in a better way. Talking about balancing your books, one team that did very well last season, just going to throw it in there. How do you think Bournemouth and Brentford are going to do next year? Brentford we've already mentioned. Without Thomas Frank, I would worry about them. I think if I'm Leeds, if I'm Sunderland or Burnley, I'm expecting to get relegated, but it might be a more opportunistic Premier League than it has been for a couple of years, because there's a couple of teams that it's always who do you think's going to go down? And I think that's the problem for the newly promoted teams. I think all the other teams are too savvy. But Brentford without Thomas Frank, without Mbeumo, does that sort of change them? Does that make them vulnerable? Bournemouth will be keeping their manager for now, but God, they're losing a lot of players. There's a lad going to PSG. I can't remember what his name is. Semenyu's now being spoken about. They've obviously lost Hulson. I'm sure there's some Kirkez. So they could lose half their team. Look, Bournemouth, you would expect them to survive, but it's a lot of players for them to lose, isn't it? A lot of players. And maybe that gives a chance to some of these newly promoted teams. Let me know your thoughts on that. Also, Club World Cup. I feel like I've hit a point with the Club World Cup where I'm basically disengaged. It's only been going for a week. We've done a few watch-alongs on this channel, but I think last night was a sort of low point with the Chelsea game, even though it was a shock result. No interest in it. Chelsea fans, talk to me. It's just... I actually thought it might get better this tournament. I actually feel like it's getting worse. Maybe in the knockout stages it will obviously get a little bit more interesting, but even the shock results aren't actually giving it any more attention. It's just... I think the European clubs, like look, we've seen Chelsea and PSG lose, we've seen Real Madrid draw, and people are trying to make out that this means that Saudi football and South American football are as strong as European football. I don't think so. I really don't. I think there is this confusion in the players. They don't really understand what they're doing. They don't understand why this tournament's taking place, and they look tired and fatigued, and they know they've got a whole year of football ahead of them. I think the best assessment of the Club World Cup comes from Cristiano Ronaldo, without saying anything. He had an opportunity at the end of his contract in Qatar to go and do a short-term contract or a long-term contract with clubs in the Club World Cup. He could have gone Brazil, he could have gone, wherever. And he chose not to. And the reason he's chosen not to is quite clear. Ronaldo is the epitome of rest, recuperation, and looking after your body for longevity and performance. And I think he looked at this Club World Cup and went, so I'm playing a whole season, I'm then playing in the Nations League for Portugal, I then go and play in a Club World Cup, I then go into a new season, I then go into a World Cup. He will be prioritising being at his peak for the World Cup. And he's obviously looked at it and gone, I've played the game, I've done it for 20 years, more than 20 years, 25 years nearly. And the reason I've done it is because I know how to look after my body and I know how important rest is. And I think he's looked at it and gone, this tournament's interesting, but it's a risk. It might not be worth it. And the month off is. And I think that's the problem that we're going to have, is that for a lot of these players, there is no rest and they look tired. That's just my 2 pennies worth. Get your comments in below. Let me know your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. And also, I'm just going to ask for a little favour. I've got a new Instagram account. It's called Goldbridge Hot Takes. There's 3 hot takes up there already, all of them very good. The last one about the Golden Boot has got a lot of reaction on it. So click the link in the top line of the video description or the top comment, and give that page a follow, please, but also give us your thoughts on it. New page and lots of interaction on it. Something a little bit different. If you like That's Football and you're on Instagram, I think you'll like that as well. So check it out. Take care, everyone. Speak to you in a bit.